Now, the pro-Chinese president of the island nation of Maldives, his script appears to be backfiring. Now, what is clearly a hostile stance against India, President Mohamed Muizzu is now hurting him. The opposition parties are livid over Muizzu's attempts to move away from India in his attempt to ally much closer with China. And two major opposition parties, which is the Maldivian Democratic Party or the MDP, and the Democrats have now condemned Muizzu government's anti-India pivot. Now, in a joint statement, the opposition parties have warned the government that alienating any development partner will be extremely detrimental. The statement has also called India the country's most long-standing ally. Muizzu's ultra-nationalistic posturing has targeted India, and that appears to be hurting him politically now. On the 13th of January, the Malé mayor post vacated by Muizzu was snatched by the opposition. And it marked a pretty big blow to the ruling People's National Congress and also a big loss of face for Muizzu on his own home turf. Muizzu, remember, came to power in the month of November in the back of an India Out campaign. Breaking tradition, he raised eyebrows by making Turkey and China his first port of call. At around the same time, some deputy Maldivian ministers in fact used some derogatory language against the Indian Prime Minister after he posted some photographs of his visit to Lakshadweep. While the ministers were immediately suspended, the incident has left a sour taste, suffering some serious protests on social media by Indians who have called for a boycott of Maldives movement. Now remember, tourism is the mainstay of Maldives' economy, and Indians happen to be one of the key bulk of travellers to the island nation. If the controversy continues, then this could, of course, hit the island nation's economy pretty badly. After becoming the president, Muizzu has urged New Delhi to withdraw all 88 military personnel who are stationed in Maldives. Now, the Indian troops help train the Maldivian soldiers and also help in medical emergencies. On Saturday, a 14-year-old boy died, allegedly after Muizzu refused to approve the use of a Dornier aircraft that was provided by India for his airlift. Seemingly ignoring India's long-standing concerns, Muizzu has also allowed the Chinese surveillance vessels to carry out what are described as surveys in the Maldivian waters. The big question is, in the face of increasing pressure, will the Maldivian president make a course correction? And also to help us understand what is happening in Maldives at this moment, we're being joined by Mr. Ahmed Faris Mamoon. He was the presidential contender against Muizzu, and he's also a vice chairman for the Maldives Reform Movement, the Mamoon Foundation. Mr. Mamoon, thank you very much indeed, sir, for taking time out and speaking to us here on WION. And let me begin by asking you this. This hostile stance that is taken by Mr. Muizzu, how badly do you think that has hurt him politically?
Thank you, Mr. Muhammad. Thank you for having me on the show. I think what we are seeing right now is something we were very fearful of during the presidential elections in 2023. We are seeing a very hard pivot from one foreign partner to another. So I think a lot of Maldivians are very conscious of what this means and the implications of these foreign policy maneuvers. I think it's easy to forget what India has been to us throughout our history. For political motives, I think taking one side or the other would be very damaging to the current president. I think there are a lot of good advisors near the current president, and we remain hopeful that he will rebalance his stand in the very near future. Otherwise, there might be a lot of fallout and damage during the upcoming parliamentary elections.
I think that's an important point that you've raised, that the rhetoric, which predominantly a lot of people expected was just election rhetoric, which has also in some ways become also Mr. Muizzu's foreign policy, may end up hurting Maldives in the long run. But is it already hurting him politically? Because the mayoral seat that he vacated has now been lost by Muizzu's party.
I think this is one factor that is having an effect on his popularity or ratings per se, and it was a key indication that the ruling party did not retain the mayorship in the elections a week ago. There have been a lot of missteps or things that did not turn out to be just campaign rhetoric that the public are judging. But I think we have to keep in mind that the turnout for the local council elections last week was very low. So that might not be a proper indication. But in any case, there is a general disillusionment with the political process in this country and with the political machinery that works in this country. And what people are largely seeing is that although the government has changed, there has been a little difference in aspects other than the international arena. There has been a lot of continuation of malpractice, of corruption, of undue influence with political maneuvering. So I think people are very jaded with the situation in this country, and I think that will be reflected in the upcoming parliamentary elections.
Right, now you were a presidential contender against Muizzu. So the question that I want to ask you, Mr. Mamoon, is considering the quick manner in which Muizzu seems to be losing popularity, what does the opposition in Maldives intend to do at this moment? Are you looking at the possibility of bringing in an impeachment motion against President Muizzu?
Thank you for the question, but I'm not a member of parliament, and I'm not. I would appreciate if you could consider me independent. I do not represent the government side, neither do I represent the formal opposition, which is made up of the MDP, and I think they have come to an arrangement with the Democrats to work together on limited issues. So I'm not in a position to say anything at this stage, but I would, in my
question was,
capacity,
do you think the opposition, the opposition parties in Maldives would be looking at the possibility of clogging up, some kind of unity between them to bring about an impeachment motion against Muizzu?
You're correct in identifying that the opposition hold a majority in parliament right now, and constitutionally they have the right to bring an impeachment motion at this stage. But I think from what I get in the sense of what I get from the general population is that an impeachment so early on in the presidency is not called for. So I think if they were to bring an impeachment motion, that would play into the hands of the government. Right.
I think that's very interesting there. Thank you very much indeed, Mr. Mamoon, for joining us and getting us all those insights there. WION is now available in your country. Download the app now and get all the news on the move.